call the member for Durack.
Thank you. I rise to speak in support of the motion by the member for Casey, which correctly points out that Australia's small business sector is at breaking point. They're at breaking point because of the economic incompetence of those opposite and their cost of living crisis. Small businesses, well, they're not immune to higher rents, higher energy bills, higher prices for goods and, of course, the dozen interest rate rises that have occurred under this government. All this cost of living pain has led to another record being set by the Albanese Labor Government, and once again it's not a record to be proud of. Data released by the Australian Securities and Investment Commission show the number of businesses that entered insolvency last financial year was 11,049. That is the highest number ever recorded. By contrast, the number of insolvencies in 2020-21, when we were in government and we were combating a once-in-a-century pandemic, was 4,235. In my home state of Western Australia, 733 businesses entered insolvency last financial year. Not surprisingly, businesses linked to the construction sector accounted for the most insolvencies, which of course only exacerbates our housing crisis. This was followed by insolvencies in the accommodation and hospitality sectors. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like this will be a record for long. Gail Dickerson, who sits on the Turnaround Management Association board, has said, and I quote, "We're not at the peak yet. The consensus and my view is we've probably got another 12 months really kind of still ramping up before we hit the peak." This is reinforced by results from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry's WA Business Confidence Survey conducted earlier this year. That survey found that 18% of businesses believed they were at risk of closing or were significantly scaling back their operations this year. So think of it, that's almost 1 in 5 businesses. At a time when businesses are hurting more than ever before, you would think those opposite, you'd think they would do something in their power to put downward pressure on inflation and provide support to the sector. Unfortunately not. In fact, under those opposite, as we know, well-reported, inflation is heading in the wrong direction, with Australia an outlier amongst advanced economies. And instead of providing support to businesses, Labor has chosen to make it harder by adding further cost, confusion and complexity to the industrial relations system. I recently wrote to the small businesses across my Durack community about these reforms. I also sought their feedback on what were the issues that they would like to see us address in this place. The top 5 issues raised with me were: 1. Cutting and simplifying red tape. 2. Rising insurance premiums, which is a big deal in Western Australia, particularly across the north. Lower, simpler and fairer taxes. 4. Difficulty finding skilled staff and affording wage costs. And 5. Ensuring affordable and reliable energy. Now let's consider whether Labor are addressing these concerns. On red tape, well, the industrial relations reforms of those opposites have only made an already far too complex system even harder to navigate. And one of the biggest issues for small business is that casual employment has been redefined. Before these changes, a casual employer was defined solely by reference to the terms of the employment contract. The new definition consists of 15 factors that considers the real substance, practical reality and true nature of the employment relationship. These changes would effectively stop casuals working regular patterns of work. Now, we know this will disproportionately impact small businesses as they employ 80% of Australia's casual workforce. So what about taxes? Coalition has proposed extending the instant asset write-off to $30,000 and make this an ongoing for businesses. Labor voted against this proposal, leaving the scheme at $20,000 and is due to expire. I also note that when we were in government, we reduced the small business tax rate from 30% to 25%. This meant that the tax rate was at its lowest levels in 50 years. So no good on red tape, no good on taxes. What about ensuring affordable and reliable energy? Well, I don't think I really need to say much more about that. Labor, you need to do better.